I'm also ready. I will start with the first question right away, which would be, why did you choose to work in marketing? Actually, I didn't choose to work in marketing. Marketing chose me somehow. I ended up here after starting out in the sales team as a working student, and we had a lack of lead management and lead generation, and somehow I went into going or focusing more on lead generation, demand generation in general. And then we didn't have a CRM manager, so I had a look at our CRM a lot. And yeah, now I'm in growth marketing.
That's fantastic. I think it's quite typical, and I love that you have the background from sales as well, right? Like there's this classical clash between marketing and sales all the time, short term, long term. But you are a marketer that has seen both sides, and I am pretty sure that your team appreciates that a lot.
I hope so. It also helps me every day with everything I do. It helps me out. Yeah.
How does it help you?
It definitely helps me with like knowing the processes first of all, and also knowing the goals or targets. And then making sure that my colleagues in the marketing team also know about these targets and processes. And you can just basically see the overall lead generation funnel, which is important because we have all one goal, and it really makes it more transparent to see it.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, let's fire to the next.
Okay, what's the best piece of advice about marketing you've ever received? So I think the best piece of advice about marketing I've ever received is be human, and also listen to the customer. Be human in a way that, of course, I'm selling a B2B product, but in the end, there's still a customer buying the product. So I have to target towards them, trigger them, make sure that they feel like I am a human, or we are a human selling something valuable for them.
I love this answer. Some say it should be called H to H, something human to human still. But just a quick follow-up question on this: like, how do you make sure that you are being human in your messaging? I think that's everybody speaks about it, but it's hard to explain how to be human. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. I think I always try to step back a little bit and look at the messaging again another day or something. Also really try to have in mind what I'm targeting or who I'm targeting and what he could be interested in. And then also, of course, making sure, like, standard steps, that I don't include a lot of industry language, a lot of tool language that doesn't make sense to anyone not using the tool, and trying to have a emotional connection with them by knowing that they, I don't know, love memes, for example. The community loves memes, and of course also doing a lot of research about them on a personal level.
Fantastic. I love the meme one. How do you stay up to date to the meme versions? Because we have the same thing right now. We have like this one meme, and it worked quite a lot, but now it's outdated. Like, how do you come up with new memes?
Actually, we do a lot of brainstorming about that, or whenever somebody, not only from the marketing team, has an idea, they come to us and we try to implement it. Actually, one of our technical SEOs is also a really, really good meme maker, and she helps us out a lot, and it's really funny. Recently, we published a meme that our working student put into our idea pod, and all in all, it works quite well.
Lovely. Yeah, it's like if you because it's so effective, right? If you find like if you type into someone who has the same humor, it's like, okay, instant connection, you know.
Absolutely.
You can call them, you can do whatever you want. That's magic. Cool. Definitely. Let's jump to the next one.
Okay, what's the craftiest way you've been prospected? So I think the craftiest way was actually a really, really personalized LinkedIn message. And surprise, Jan, that was the one you sent me, the first touch point you ever did when approaching us. Which is still, I mean, one of my main sources of inspiration, because it was a really short message. It was 3 parts. You triggered me personally because you did a lot of research about me. Then you stated something about my hobby, which of course gets me in the heart. Then you said something about our website traffic, which was not true, but it really made me think about it, because of course I wanted to see how you can see that and why I don't know about the number. So this definitely triggered my interest, and then you were just straight up and asked me if I want to learn more about it, which I, yeah, the CTA was strong. I didn't agree to it for the first time or for the first couple of messages, because I wanted to see more cool messages. But actually, when you sent me this message, we were like starting up with our all social selling stuff, reaching out to people via emailing, because before that we only did calling. And I ran through the office showing my manager your LinkedIn message. And he was like, if we achieve this, that somebody runs through the office to his manager with a LinkedIn message, because it's so good, then we reach our goal. I haven't heard of anybody like running through the office with our messages, but working on that.
Oh, that's so nice. It's so fun, because I thought I totally messed this message up because it was way off, it was wrong. And I thought I was like, I thought you ghosted me like totally because you weren't answering, and so forth. But I agree, like if you have a good message, then you sometimes just want to see the next one, right? So fun. Yeah, thanks for that. Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Let's go on to the next.
So gated content or not, and why? I'm all for non-gated content. I think we can go back to the be human part here, because somehow you have to tease something to them, of course. And I don't know if that's a thing where you are, but here, if you go buy an ice cream, you usually get a small spoon of a different ice cream you want to try. So I really see it like that. So give them something, give them a small piece to try, and they will come back because you added value to them, you showed them something interesting. So I'm all for non-gated content.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. Like the ice cream one, it's so true, right? You taste the flavor, and then you taste another one, and then it's like, okay, of course I'm going to take two balls, even though I wanted only one from the beginning.
Absolutely.
It's a really nice analogy, and more people are actually speaking about that right now. So yeah, it's hard because gated is always okay, if I fill this in, then something will happen, right? Like I will get that white paper, but I will also get a message from Jason, Chris, Peter, and Evgelia if I want to buy an additional tool. But if you can try the ice cream by yourself at first and actually see it tastes nice, you will maybe come back, or you already know them when they reach out and ask you to buy more ice cream. Makes so much.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we are talking about that quite a lot, because of course also there's a huge part that is gated, and that makes total sense for right now, for example. But eventually I think non-gated is the way to go, to what you just said. Give them a taste, and then they will come back because you added value.
Nice. Just another point, because I spoke to another really cool marketer. He sort of said you can also split the gated content into different stages of the funnel. What's your take on that?
I actually agree. Totally makes sense to, of course, I mean, if you look down the funnel more, product awareness, they most likely already are really, already very ready to buy. So you might, I mean, ideally you have their information already, so you don't need to gate your content anymore. You can give it to them. On the other hand, of course, a general lead generation funnel or lead funnel makes sense. You need to have the subscribers there. You need the contact information, because you will not find it out by yourself. So I think it's probably a part of both. And then for some specific, really high value content, I think it makes sense to put it out non-gated, because that gets the funnel going.
Yeah, lovely. Great answer. Cool. Let's go to the next. You already started with it a bit here.
Absolutely. So what are 3 tips you would give other marketers to try to break down silos between sales and marketing? And of course, the most obvious one I think people should be focusing on is measuring marketing and sales with the same KPIs. Ultimately, you have to make sure that both teams want to achieve the same goals. And in a simple put way, that's qualified leads that close quickly. But to make everyone aware of that, that's quite a tricky question or task to do. So I think making sure that they are measured with the same KPIs totally makes sense. Then the next point I have concerning that question is that, I mean, it really ties in to the first one, actually, that you want to make sure that your marketing and sales team understand processes and challenges and vice versa. I would love to have everyone in the marketing team like do a couple of sales calls and everyone in the sales team do a couple of marketing days, building a landing page, or I don't know, creating some content, pulling a webinar together, stuff like that, just so they can see, okay, what's the challenge there, and make them aware of what the challenges are so they can better understand and also get behind the process, of course. And I know that's also nothing new, but I think it really adds value. And then I really like the idea. In the beginning of the year, we had some market spots workshops. And one task was that we all had to write down a target account we would want to be approaching this year. So there were people from marketing, from sales, pre-sales, customer success, customer support. So our whole lead funnel was there, or people from the whole lead funnel. Everybody was supposed to write down one target account, which I really liked because it really showed, is everybody aware of what we are going towards? Does everybody know their goal? Is everybody aware of what our value is and stuff like that? And you could definitely dive into this deeper and see why they chose this, or why they want to be approaching this certain target account. And also I have not only have 3 things, but 4 things. There's one thing that we are doing right now, or want to be implementing right now, which is called learning lunches, which is basically a lunch date for the teams. For now, it's going to be the marketing team orders pizza for the sales team during lunch break, and we just share some results of our email performances, for example, just getting the communication going. I don't know, hardship makes friendship, as they say, just to be able to have a similar approach to everything, and also communicate about stuff, you know, really is important to have everyone in the same direction, and that with the different teams, that's a challenge I face every day, you know.
Yeah, I can only imagine what a marketer is going through, but like, yeah, it's nice. I really like the tips, because the first one is like have the same goal and measure them on the same goal as well, which is tough because, you know, like we book meetings, you know, and you go like, okay, but what's my share of the piece? And in the end, it's revenue that counts, or like, you know, amount of deals closed. So that's really cool. And then like nice incentive with some pizza. But I think you should go vice versa. I mean, the sales team also has to invite you sometimes. Otherwise,
I hope they do. I hope they do.
Exactly. You take the first step, and then they go back. Fantastic. Yeah. Cool. Let's take the last one.
Okay. What tools help you the most in your day-to-day? So I wrote down 3 tools, which are actually only 2, because I wrote down Salesforce twice. So my first go-to tool is Salesforce, and also the second go-to tool is Salesforce. Just because I get all of my data in there, not only for like prospecting, targeting, performance overview, everything. And I really, could not be doing my job without Salesforce. And then, of course, also Sales Loft, which is our sales engagement platform, which we only introduced a couple of months ago, which is turning out to, of course, also be a really important part of my day-to-day business, making cadence steps visible, making everything else, like for the doing part, a little bit more easy to access than in Salesforce.
Yeah, I love that. It was like when we got, we have outreach right now, but it felt like, you know, suddenly we could kick the football with some air in, you know. Before it was, you know, really hard, you know, we used manual sequencing in HubSpot, which also works fine, but suddenly we're like, okay, now we're talking. Oh yeah.
Yeah, love the reference. That's exactly how it felt before using a sales engagement tool.
Yeah, this was the first thing I said to my manager. I was like, I can finally kick the football. You know, it's like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Salesforce twice, yeah. Salesforce is can be heaven, but it can also be horrible, especially for us reps. Salesforce hygiene, but it's so important that you do it every day. So yeah, I love that people get reminded of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So now 5 more minutes. Should we just pick 2 questions and go with it?
Yes, let's do that.
This conversation is going really well. Which one would you like to start with? Do you have one that you're really hot on, the pitfalls? Or
I think, yeah, I would say the
side.
challenges and pitfalls. We can start with that.
Okay, so you've been going through a lot of challenges, like everybody else. It's not a problem, but a challenge, as you would say. What are your top 3 demand gen challenges and pitfalls going on right now, Magda?
So my biggest challenge probably right now is feeding 3 different markets, core markets, with different channels, so inbound and outbound. Of course, the markets react differently to the same content. So that's something we always have to consider. There's different readiness on the market. So I think this is one of my biggest challenges. And then directly tying into that I take care a lot about of inbound and outbound marketing, or outbound sales and inbound marketing more. And here the biggest challenge is, of course, for me internally to switch from one to the other just like that, and then also just making sure that we are aligned on the goals. So being like outbound sales has a different goal than inbound marketing. I mean, eventually the same goal. MRR is always the goal for us, but the way to get there is different, and to combine those with so many different stakeholders all in one.
Yeah,
it's quite a challenge at the moment. Yeah.
I can imagine. Like, you spoke about readiness, and I really like that, because we always speak about the curve of innovation and then separate the market on how innovative the market is. You know, some are laggards, some are more innovators, some are early adopters, some are late majority, and so forth. But how do you do that? How do you measure like the readiness of the market, of your key accounts?
So I really like the curve of innovation. I heard it before. I have not written it down strictly towards our target markets. But yeah, it's just so obvious what we are doing on the different markets that I should be measuring it, definitely. But I just listen to the sales feedback. I talk to sales managers. I talk to their feedback there, and definitely know, okay, for example, for the Spanish market, they have a different awareness of SEO because I'm selling a SEO tool. Yeah. Then, for example, the DACH market, one big part is that our one of our founders is a really famous technical SEO in the DACH market. So when we enter this conversation there, we usually 2 steps further, which doesn't make it easier at all because we have to convince them more. But for example, for a different readiness stage, we have to educate them more. So it's more about educating them about SEO in general. Mm-hmm. And then for the DACH market, for example, it's more about really going deep into technical stuff.
Yeah. It's you know, specific. The German wants the specifics and how does it work? How do you know that? And so forth. That's a good question. Yeah, cool. And yeah. I mean, that's probably why the pizza is well spent, you know, so it can really get touch on the readiness of the market as well. But it's a challenge, right? Like, how do you measure something that's intangible? You know, how can we report this, you know, to the board, to the CEOs? Okay, you have readiness here, but how can we actually quantify that? Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which one do we take next? Because you have to run soon. I think you have to run very soon, actually.
No worries, we can take a little bit longer. What would you prefer, Jan?
I mean, I am really interested in, because we spoke a bit about the return on the campaigns, about the KPI goals. You said like MRR is really important, like this is what you strive to do. But I think the last one, like considering that most marketing projects take time to get results, Not all of them, but most. It's a longer time span than in sales. It's like, now I need them some meetings. How do you convince your stakeholders to buy in what you want to build?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think I'm in a really, really lucky place where I work at, because our target audience is marketing people. So everybody has a awareness of how important it is to invest in marketing and how to make sure that marketing is set up really. So internally, I think I really am at a better place than other people in marketing. And besides that, I make sure that I put KPIs in my project plans. I make sure that I show numbers and that I show potential things that can happen or will happen when this campaign is launched or something really long-term happens. Once again, the good place and also position I am in with my managers, for example, also because they support me on that, of course, that they know, okay, it's going to take some time and they trust me, which of course always helps in executing those projects. And then I still try to show the marketing influence on the revenue that we generated when the sale happened or the deal closed. Of course, I go into and check where it came from. So I can say, okay, this campaign actually worked, or this project we wanted to do accelerated our growth by this amount. And then for the next project I want to be doing, I can tell them, okay, it worked the last time. It's something different now, but I think it's going to be working again.
Yeah, I get it. But the question is always like, how do you get the trust, right? And I think for you, it's really like including a lot of relevant KPIs as early as possible to make sure that they give you the trust, right? Because otherwise you like the other marketer, the other said, like marketing is about spending a lot of money and getting even more money out of it, which is fun, but sometimes it's hard, right? To make that count. Last question, and then you have to run.
Yes, we can do two more actually.
Okay, two more. Fine. Okay, great. I mean, you buy, or like you're involved in buying software a lot. So I would just like ask you, like, what would you improve when you buy software, and how and what would you change in that case?
Of course, it's always the case. I would love for me to be able to show the value right when I try the tool, because that's of course the biggest part. So somehow make sure that you put an outcome in your trial. I know that's not the easiest. I've been dealing a lot with it here, and we are still working on it and improving it. But this will be one major thing I will be changing when purchasing software. And then also, I think it's always a case of flexible pricing, because we're a startup company, and price is of course always an issue, or budget is a part of the purchasing process always. I really would be appreciating if there's flexible pricing, for example, not yearly contracts, but half yearly. I totally get it. People tell me the same thing when purchasing our tool. So we're all in the same boat here, but that's something I would be highly appreciating if that would be changing more.
Yeah, and I mean, makes sense, right? If you get the value, if you come back to the ice cream, like you will eat more. But if maybe you don't want to buy the whole cup in general, even though the ice cream maker needs to sell the whole cup, but it's better to come back for more rather than eating all of that, and then you're fed up, if we speak in that story.
Definitely. Cool. Or also overwhelmed by a tool. I mean, it's really overwhelming to be introducing a new tool. And then if you, in the purchasing process, tell them that you're not ready for the full version yet, but you have to purchase it, it gets quite overwhelming because you wanted to start with just a small feature, stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of potential in there.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? Because like I just know it from sales that we don't want another tool. It's like, give me the information. Like another tool that I have to learn. Like it took us, like outreach took us a month of headache, before we figured it out. Then it worked. And same with when we switched from HubSpot to Salesforce, it was like so different. How do you make, like when you bring in like new tools or like new stack, what's important for you then? Because you want the team, of course, to work with it as soon as possible. Like how do you make sure that it's not like as little headache as possible, so to say?
Of course, I mean, I think the biggest part of that is a project plan, implementation plan. So making sure that everyone is involved at the right place, making sure what challenges might be coming and take time. And then also, I think it's really important to get all stakeholders excited from the start. I really try, if I introduce a new tool or want to buy a new tool, I really try to get everyone involved, get everyone up to date, and maybe even give them a trial already, which really helps in making them already aware of everything. And then also, I think it's really important to, if you have a project plan and you will figure out that you need another week for the tool or for example, SDRs to adapt to the tool because before you can switch to the next feature or something, give it their time and give it time, and then it will be turning out fine. So not be shy to step away from the project plan just from a timely manner. Of course, stick to your project plan, but not but make sure that you are also flexible when dealing with that.
Nice. Yeah. It's always customer first, right? Let them do their own pace, but sometimes have like this problems in the implementation for you, like, okay, like, you just haven't used it, and then you're also in this dilemma. So yeah, I get it. Makes total sense. Yeah. All right. Last question. You pick.
I'll pick the last question, which I should say is how are you making sure to get return on your marketing campaigns to align with your KPI goals?
Nice.
Yeah, I think actually there's two important parts to that. First of all, monitor your goals on a regular, and then also not be shy to take actions, but also at the same time make sure that you don't change everything up too soon. So make sure, that you always are aligned on the goals, also with the different stakeholders, and don't get sidetracked, because of course there is times where you need to take actions, but of course there's also times where you need to give it more time. I just recently had this case when introducing a campaign. We did 2 different cadences, and the one was not performing like we wanted it to. So we came together. I came together with the SDR team, and we made the decision to cut off the cadence for now. So keep the prospects that are in there, but then not put any new ones in there. And now eventually, of course, the cadence kept going. We can see some traction there, and I'm really glad that we didn't just break it off. We didn't remove any prospects, and they're still in there. So I think that's quite valuable, and of course always along with your goals. And then also a second KPI, I would also be focusing on, especially if you're just implementing new things, which us both are doing a lot. We try to put in many A/B testing. Different A/B testing things, and then after that, and that's something we need to work on, to be coming back to the table after something has ended, or just on a regular, to really say, okay, this is the winner of our A/B test, and this is something then we really need to be upskilling the whole team, letting them know, okay, this is the winner because we can prove it with data, and then using the winner from now on.
Yeah, that's so relevant, like having these, because like we as reps, we also get like attached, so okay, that's my idea, maybe I don't want to share it with everyone, even though you are a team player, but it's like you get attached to the things you build or the things that you use, and that's like hard for the reps, or like in general, like to change, like, oh no, new template, like why should I do that, so having the opportunity to A/B test and split test and so forth, and then the data, right, in the end, it's how you can get the data from it. It's a game changer. All right, Magdalena, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for the conversation.